Chelsea FanCast. I am Stamford Chidge. That is Darren Mantle. Beautiful man. Beautiful man. Darren Mantle. This is Ross Mooring. This is Pablo Paul Jeffrey. And this man on my left is Tim Rolls. Now, Tim, apart from being a fantastic, great mate and fellow scribe on CSC UK and all sorts of other things, but he's becoming probably better known for being the chairman of the Chelsea Supporters Trust. And we've got a little bit to do with that. So I thought it'd be great if we could get Tim on the show properly and have a good old chat to him about what the Trust means and what it's up to, because I'm sure that there are people who listen to this show and watch it who may not know. So there we go. So, Tim, apart from having you on the show, as always, it's really nice to get you on the show and talk about this seriously. So, you know, I think the best way to start off really is to say what are the aims and the objectives of the Trust?
Well, in a nutshell, I think it's to try and represent the views of the majority of Chelsea supporters. And, you know, and that's to various audiences. That's to the club, it's in the media. And to try and do this in a sort of sensible but sort of progressive manner, so that you actually try and have a sensible dialogue and you try and progress issues. The only way I think you can do that is to identify what people's concerns are through surveys and what have you. Through you prioritise them through what we've chosen to do through an annual general meeting and having motions on it, and then from there you come up with policies which take you through the season, if you like, on key issues that actually matter to supporters. So to me, that's the sort of the key aim and objective. I
think the thing that comes out of that, and I mean, you know, having sat on it for you know, obviously since its inception, the most important thing to me was the fact that, you know, we do have these surveys, and you know, out of those surveys came the motions which were voted on at the meeting, right? The annual general meeting. That's the key to the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Because it means that the membership actually dictate what happens, not a cabal of people, some of whom sit around this table. Stop laughing, it's serious.
But the bottom line is, you know, we had elections for the board at the same time as the motions. You know, it was a contested election, and so the people on the board are on for a period of time.
It's a year, isn't it?
It's a year, and then you see what happens at the end of the year in terms of elections next year.
Which means, of course, being a democratic organisation, any of us that are on that board can get voted out if we don't perform.
Can get voted out, but it means that I believe you've got a mandate in terms of the board membership. We've got a mandate in terms of the survey driving the motions. We have regular meetings. We've got one on Sunday to keep people informed, to keep the dialogue going. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, we certainly haven't cracked it. We've got things I think we can do better. But in terms of engagement, I think we've done quite a lot in the 9 months that we've been in existence.
I mean, it's a good point, actually, and I think a lot of people would ask this. But, you know, what in your view, what do you think that the Trust has achieved today? Because it's been going, I know, really only properly since August, but, you know, we've been hard at it for about a year now, haven't we?
Well, we had the launch meeting in February. Since then, we've had 3 meetings with the club. We've had the couple of special general meetings and an annual general meeting. We've done a survey on a range of issues, from ticketing to safe standing to atmosphere in the ground to secondary ticket agencies and what have you. We've done a specific survey on loyalty points because we felt that there was an issue there. We've got membership of a Premier League Supporters Trust group, which Ross and myself attended last week. The Chelsea Supporters Trust are driving a Premier League benchmarking on ticketing issues. We're helping actually 1 or 2 of the other trusts in terms of sort of wider issues on surveys. So I think we've sort of established some policies, and we are moving forward in terms of, you know, how we take those forward. The challenge for us is to make sure that if we've got a policy on safe standing or a policy on ticketing, that we actually do something with it. That, you know, part of that's about engagement with the club, but it's also about getting messages in the media. You know, last week we had some good coverage in the Observer talking about atmosphere in the ground, which is clearly an issue for an awful lot of Chelsea supporters.
I mean, that's a really interesting point, because that kind of leads on, I think, with another question, which is, you know, what do you think that the main remit of the Trust is?
The main remit, as far as I'm concerned, is to identify and recognise if you like, the desires of the membership, and to translate those into achievable actions and to deliver those achievable actions. So it's making sure that the things we do are what the membership wants us to do, and we're not taking flyers and just doing stuff because 10 of us sit in a room and fancy doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing is that you know, people get very emotional, quite rightly too, and passionate about Chelsea and, you know, what happens to them as supporters and how they perceive that they're treated. But, you know, as a rule, you know, beating down the doors with a baseball bat isn't necessarily the way to do it, and I think that, you know, the Trust has a slightly different approach, which you think will engage the club more.
I think so. I mean, I think we're helped by that some of the board members, not myself, but other members of the board have a good relationship with the club. That's probably helped us in terms of getting in there. But we've had 3 meetings involving Ron Gourlay, Steve Atkins, Graham Smith and Chris Alexander, all of whom are sort of senior executives at the club. They've been structured meetings, they've been constructive meetings. They understand where we're coming from. I don't think, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, but the fact that they're happy to have a dialogue. And I just think if you have a structured, sensible dialogue, it's better to be in the room influencing the debate than standing outside the room shouting in.
Very easy to do that, not as easy to do the other. Just briefly on... actually, this is a good point, I think, because, you know, Chelsea's been going a long time and supporters have been organised in one way, shape or form for quite a long time as well, and there are quite a lot of other supporters groups around. What makes the Chelsea Supporters Trust different from other supporters groups, Chelsea supporters groups?
Well, from my point of view, I think it's the fact that we are transparent and openly democratic in terms of who's involved and in terms of what our primary targets are. So if the membership decide that issue A is what we should be focusing on, then that's what we focus on. So it's membership driven. And it's clear that there are going to be certain issues that are always going to be the key area. But even in terms of our stance on those positions, it's driven by the membership, not by the board.
And I mean, talking of those kind of issues, I mean, you know, you've mentioned the survey, and the main survey was the one that was held before the AGM, and out of that's come the policy for this year. But what have they revealed so far, and what impact do you think the Trust actually surveying the membership will have on the club?
Well, I think the club do their annual survey, which, you know, is an exercise. I think they do it every March or whatever. When they,
well, it's a good question,
they do a
isn't
sample
it,
of people.
I
never get it. I know other people who get it.
I mean, actually, we'll do our own survey right now. Let's see what I've done there. Hands up around the table, any of us who have actually got the email from Chelsea and been surveyed.
I've had it twice and I've responded to it once, both of which are around November.
You've had it once?
Yeah, I've had it as well.
So that screws my theory. I've never had it, ever. I've never, ever. Not even my alter ego with Chelsea, because I get 2 emails from Chelsea. One is to me, and the other is to this mythical person called Davis Chidgey, who is clearly a member of the American branch somewhere. Davis. I keep wanting to write back to them and say, you've got it wrong, it's Davis Chidgey III. You know, but it's mad. I mean, what? Yeah, you know, it's very unrepresentative, I think, therefore.
I mean, I can understand that they maybe don't want to cover everybody, but also I think they're the reason they do it may differ from ours. I think they're trying to find out certain issues. We're really finding out what matters to our members. And, you know, we got the opportunity to drill down and go into some detail on loyalty points. We've just done a recent survey on loyalty points. And, you know, we got a few hundred people took the time to reply. We're still going through the results of that. They won't be finalised, you know, in the next couple of weeks, but they will be finalised in the new year, together with the benchmarking that we're doing on the other clubs. And that will give us a very clear view on our loyalty, what our members think of loyalty points, what every other Premier League club does on loyalty points, what best practice there is. And I have to say, Chelsea's is by no means the worst system. I mean, Ross and I have seen data. Other clubs are unbelievably opaque, almost impossible to understand.
Like what?
Well, they have these weird systems where it goes back a number of years, which it may be a good thing, but sometimes it seems to go back 10 or 15 years, but not for any obvious reason. The games that they pick, they award 18,000 points for a game, or 150 rather than, you know. So it's not logical. And I think what's clear, talking to 1 or 2 trusts, and I won't name them, is that they think that what we do is better, but there are still opportunities to improve.
It's not a perfect system by any means, is it?
I mean, we only do it on the current season. For example, I know that Tottenham do it over 3 or 4 seasons. I think other clubs do, and maybe that's a fairer way, or at least that's an issue for discussion. You're never going to please everybody with something like loyalty points, but at least by doing a survey, finding out what people think about art, finding out what other people do. You can go back to the club and you can say, well, look, this is what our members think. This is what we know other clubs do. And we can get this validated by the Premier League. So we will know in the end that it's valid data. That may take till January, but we'll know it's valid data.
And it seems a lot more credible, doesn't it?
It does, it seems credible. And they're more likely to listen to you if you go in with a view of a significant number of people, rather than going in if just the 10 members of the Chelsea Supporters Trust board went in.
Right, I'm going to throw this out to the people out there. Chad, have you got any questions from either yourselves or from Mixler or Twitter for Tim?
Yeah, I have. I got some for Tim here. It says here, how likely do you think that the Safe Standing campaign is going to be happening at the Bridge in the near future?
Well, Safe Standing is an interesting one because, as I say, we were at a Premier League Trust meeting last week. Aston Villa, for example, are doing a survey of their supporters, not just trust members, but supporters, which is a joint venture between the club, between Paul Faulkner, who is the chief executive of Aston Villa, and the Supporters Trust. They're very keen. Manchester United has suddenly become potentially interested. I think there's a groundswell of opinion that Safe Standing is the way to go. There are potential issues legally, and it's a moot point whether the law would have to be changed to allow it to happen. But potentially it wouldn't. And I can see a situation, certainly in the Premier League, within a couple of years where it starts to come in. And once it comes in, I think it'd be like a domino effect. And what I want to make sure from the Trust point of view is that we've got the information, we've got the understanding, we have the dialogue with the club, so they understand where our members are coming from. And they probably have concerns about it, and I can understand that, and help to try and overcome those concerns. So I'm not saying it will happen next season, because clearly and obviously it won't. But, that it's on the agenda for the medium term.
Any more?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Jacko_CFC for that one. Next one is from West Lower 6 on Twitter, and it says, what's the current membership of the Trust, and will they be publishing their accounts for public view?
Well, the accounts and the membership will be published at our AGM, which is in August. Yeah. I mean, our membership is. I genuinely haven't got the up-to-date figure. It's in the sort of around 1,500 members. But what you've got to remember as well is that doesn't include affiliates. So if you add affiliates to this, you're talking about several thousand.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I mean, Chelsea FanCast were one of the first to sign up as an affiliate to the Trust. So, we are able, if you listen to this show, if you watch this show and you get in touch with us, if you email us at the show and you've got issues that are raised, we can speak on your behalf at the Trust. Yeah. That was the point of becoming an affiliate, as do only CFC UK. I think Chelsea Sweden have signed up as an affiliate, and the Hastings Blues. I mean, there's quite a lot, and actually that's a very valid point.
We do have more work to do to get more affiliates, particularly overseas groups on board, because when we've had meetings with the club, they've been very clear that they see issues around communication with overseas groups, and they would look to the Trust to sort of help facilitate that. I mean, Paul, you've been at one of those, a couple of meetings with the club, and they see that as something we can help them with. So I'm very keen that we can represent not just match-going UK supporters, but we can represent the full Chelsea supporter family.
On that point, I mean, why should anyone sign up, whether they're an individual over in Battersea or Bangalore, and particularly for the official supporters groups and the overseas supporters? Why should they sign up? Because, I mean, without beating around the head, a lot of people see groups like the Trusts,
yep.
There are others that do similar kinds of things, very much as it's for the match-going fans, it's for the people who've been going for 500 years, whatever. Why should everybody be part of this?
Well, match-going fans certainly, because there's a clear focus on issues. We've got a representative on the Fans Forum, and a lot of those are about match-going issues. But it isn't just about match-going. The club are getting a lot of money coming out of TV deals, particularly the Champions League deal. How do we do that? I think that the overseas supporters, how do they get match tickets? That's an issue that's been raised in the ticketing survey. You've got overseas supporters talking about access to TV, feeling more part of a wider network. I mean, I was talking to a guy in Melbourne, actually trying to buy my nephew, who lives in Australia, a Chelsea shirt there, and he was saying that they want to feel part of the wider Chelsea family. By joining the Trust, it sort of helps them do that.
I mean, we don't call it for nothing making your voice heard,
yeah.
And I think that, whether you go to matches or not, or you're based over here or not, you're still entitled to have your voice about what you think about
Absolutely.
the club heard.
I mean, there are issues, clearly, that are around match going. If it's about ticket allocation, ticket pricing, loyalty points, that affects the people who go to games.
And that's bound to be the case.
Yes, absolutely.
That is what a football club is.
Exactly. Indeed. But it's not exclusively that, and people it shouldn't feel. And what I would also say is if overseas supporters have issues that they would like the trust to raise with the club or to investigate or to think about, we'd be very happy to do that. We're not exclusively a match day organisation.
No, I mean, we're there to represent everybody, and that is the point. And I mean, we've got a lot of people from overseas who listen and watch this show, and we've been lucky and privileged to meet many of them, and you know they deserve to get their voice heard too. I totally concur with that. Any other questiones, Mr. Cheddar? Have you got one yourself, perhaps?
Yeah, I've got I suppose one that I could ask Tim. I was just wondering, I can see where lots of people question the validity of it, but have you had any positive comments either in the media or from members themselves saying what they think of the job that you're doing?
Well,
as an
organisation rather than individual.
Be careful, because I'm sitting here.
We have. I mean, the media was supportive when we were founded. I mean, thanks to the efforts of Mr. Chidgey, we do get quite a lot of media coverage. We get covered, which pleases me, when there are serious articles about serious issues like the changing demographic of Premier League football. It is Chelsea are one of the two trusts that got featured in that sort of article. I mean, feedback from supporters, there'll always be people who say you should be doing this, you should do that. But I think the emails we get, the sense that we get is that most of the membership are, I wouldn't say they're comfortable with everything that we're doing, but they think that we're going in the right direction. And the joy is, if they're not happy with what they're doing, they can communicate, they can come to meetings, they can email us, they can do whatever, and make that point clear.
I mean, it's very. I mean, a couple of things. From. I mean, I do deal actually a lot with the communications and the media for the trust, but what is very important is that we are seen by the media as the go-to people when there is a serious issue arising concerning Chelsea supporters. That's where I'd like us to be positioned. And I think the interesting thing at the moment is that I think a lot of the media, and particularly the newsprint journalists, are getting far more attuned to the fact that actually there are very serious concerns, particularly by match-going supporters, in areas like safe standing, atmosphere, ticket prices, away travel, banning orders. A lot of these kind of issues are becoming more well known by the media, and they are therefore more keen to talk to people who have some sort of representation of the supporters. And I think the timing of it's quite interesting. But I hope that therefore our role can be seen as very important. That being the case,
I mean, what's interesting is that the negativity that surrounded football supporters, even 10, 15 years ago in the media, there's a lot less of it now. I think people accept that supporters have a valid voice, and I see us as part of that as part of that dialogue.
Excellent stuff, Tim. It's been a real pleasure to have you sitting with us and put the intelligence quotient up around the table by a considerable factor. But I can now bring it right back down to the tone that you all know and love, because the Trust, of course, is having a Christmas party.
It is.
We are. And that, as you probably know, because I say this every week, but it's on Friday the 13th of December in the Black Bull pub, which is a proper old Chelsea pub just down the road from Stamford Bridge. Tickets are £5 for members. They are £10 for non-members, which will include you signing up to the Trust, so you'll become a member as well. Numbers are limited, but there are still a few left. Yep. I know that. So a handful of tickets are left. You need to get your email into events@chelseasupporterstrust.com, and then you can reserve your ticket if you do so.
Or look at the website. There's a page on the website.
Or look at the website. Now, the other thing is, I think we should really tell you how to join the Trust. So if you want to make your voice heard regarding any of the supporter issues that we've mentioned here, then you need to join up. Just go to chelseasupporterstrust.com and you can sign up and join online. It's £5 for individual members, and that will entitle you to vote in our elections and on any of the motions that we have. Now,
and to participate in surveys straight away.
And to participate in surveys, absolutely, Pablo. Now, you can also join up as a non-paying member, but obviously you get more of a say if you pay. And we're also very keen to get anybody signing up from overseas, or if you're a member of an official supporters group, both here in the UK or abroad. And, of course, if you run a website or any other thing like that, then you can join up as an affiliate, and that will cost you £25 English. Now, thank you very much, Tim. I really appreciate that. I think I should round of applause for Tim. Great stuff. Now, we're off for a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to you on Skype and great things like that in You're on CFFC.